um, getting reports from Chicago.
That's really interesting because that I didn't know that either. I thought this was one of the I thought this was one of those things where it was only around for a couple of years and then it's totally disappeared. I did not know that even today there was even sightings, but this is more of like a North American type of cryptid. It's not really found anywhere else in the world, correct? Or are there other reports of this creature or this cryptid in other countries?
As far as I can tell, it is just centered in this like smallish area in North America. Because with Bigfoot, you have all the variants: Yeti, Alma, Siawi, Yeren. With again cave crawlers, which I talked about, there in like Russia and Australia, I think, as well as North America. But
Mhm.
with Mothman, it seems to be just centered around Lake Michigan and Point Pleasant, and again, the furthest one I could find was Colorado. So it's just kind of that little bubble, but that's just my research because I looked through these 600 reports I found, but there could be more out there that I'm just missing because I kind of, after the 600 or whatever it was, I kind of just started to give up and I'm like, all right, that's enough looking into this. But it could be other places, but as far as I've found, it seems to be just centered in this spot around North America, Lake Michigan, that sort of area.
Well, so you bring up the Bigfoot and the Yeti and like how there's different variants of that. Now, is it entirely possible that there could be different variants of the Mothman and its appearance? Like it doesn't because now I'll just ask you this question too. Like, what exactly does the Mothman look like? Because again, like what I was saying, could it not be that there's different variants, different like colors and shapes? Because the Yeti, the Bigfoot, they look different. They're how they stand, everything is a little bit different. So maybe there are other reports in countries of the Mothman. It's just that's not what they call it. Now I'm not 100% sure on like every single cryptid. So I don't know if there's another cryptid that is like the Mothman that it could be a mistaken for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, cryptids get confused all the time. People will see the Wendigo, and that could be related to the rake, and there's just a bunch of different names, and they can look very different. I'm not sure about in other countries, but that's very much possible. But I know at least in North America, the one that I've been looking at, it has had multiple descriptions, kind of, because the coloring of the Mothman itself can be black, but it can also be gray. It can be brown. That's kind of the range: black, gray, brown.
Hmm.
And with the eyes, I remember seeing that. So it mainly has red eyes, right? The glowing red eyes, but it's been described to have yellow eyes, orange eyes, and I've even like seen a few reports saying green eyes, which is so there are some variations just in the reports themselves. But I think the main sort of description would be red eyes, a black coloration, membraneous wings, that sort of thing. The one thing that I haven't completely pinned down is, does it have like an extra pair of arms on top of the wings or not? But I'm assuming it doesn't, just because that makes more sense for a creature.
Interesting. Okay. Now so you're saying that it might have a set of arms or it may not have a set of arms because of the wings?
Yes, so I essentially, what I concluded was it was a lot like a bat. It had an evolutionary line and it was similar to the bat, and that's kind of what I was assuming.
Mhm.
Um, and so there are artist depictions of it having arms, like half of the drawings have arms, and a lot of reports say angel-like, and there's some that say man-like, right? And it's just the statue I remember in Point Pleasant also has arms, and they interviewed some people to figure out that. But they also said they took reference from a bodybuilder, so maybe that's where they got the arms from for the statue.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
there's no actual, like, I looked very hard. There's not one report that mentions arms. They just say angel like, man like. There's not one report that says arms. So it's I'm just gonna say it doesn't have arms just because that makes more sense atomically for a creature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I'm gonna ask you in just a second, but like, it's weird to think that it. What exactly is the Mothman? Like, is it a man? Is it like an alien creature? Is it like an evolutionary like thing? Is it like a government abomination? So, I guess my next question for you is, what is your theory